Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of NFL Super Friends here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I am one of said NFL Super Friends, the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ, where we are coming off the Detroit Lions winning a Monday Night Football game against the lowly Las Vegas Raiders, who could once again not muster much of anything on offense. And friend of the show, not with us this week, 49ers sub Evan Sowards, probably got some PTSD watching Jimmy Garoppolo miss a wide open wide receiver deep downfield that could have been a game-changing play in a big primetime slot. But that is neither here nor there to talk all things NFL and, and the fun stuff. Fellow NFL Super Friends, JP Acosta of SB Nation is here. JP, good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing great from the only person whose team won this weekend.
I mean, you're like, JP's happy. Look, it's good. The Jags are good, and that's fine. And we're going to let him live because who knows? Will Levis 1-0 as a starter. Is he coming for Trevor Lawrence? We'll find out in the coming weeks. Also here, probably not feeling the same after another rough Sunday afternoon for his Pittsburgh Steelers. USA Today, Behind the Steel Curtain, the Pump Fake, many others. Jarrett Bailey. Jarrett, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm great. You know, when you I'll quote Dodgeball, Vince Vaughn's character from Dodgeball. You know, when you have low expectations, you don't get disappointed. And so I feel great. I had 2 parlays that hit this weekend. I almost had another one hit tonight, but I got too cute and bet Jahmyr Gibbs 2 touchdowns. So I needed one more touchdown for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I needed one more Josh Reynolds catch, and it would have been a 3 parlay hit weekend. But regardless, we're up. And just living life, man. It's midway point of the season. We're full head down. And like I said, I had 0 expectations coming into this weekend. I'm very happy for JP and his Jacksonville Jaguars for now owning the longest win streak in the NFL. Their best start since God knows how long. I think 1999 is the last time they had a start like this. So good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dewey stole a terrible towel and was talking a bunch of smack after. I was totally for it. Like, the amount of Steelers fans that were just butthurt and in their feelings made me laugh. And I was very happy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to Steelers fans, but I was very happy for them.
It's very funny sometimes seeing proud franchises and fans like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and some of their fans just get completely up in arms for losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, as if the Jaguars are just some like podunk ass team. Like, no, we're really good. And I think the funniest part is the amount of trash that was talked by George Pickens and Deontay Johnson before the game heading into the week. George Pickens called it a hope defense and then had 1 catch. So, it's just not great for them right now, and then Rayshon Jenkins.
That tweet where the dude was like adding Pittsburgh Police Department saying that.
Yes, it was. Dude, it was so funny.
Funniest damn thing I have ever seen in my life. Holy hell, that made me laugh.
He wants the cops called on Kid Rock. That's crazy to me. But Jaguars are good, man. They are, dare I say it, they are in the elite tier of AFC football teams.
Absolutely.
They might be. Well, we'll get into the Jaguars, Steelers, and Falcons a little bit here, where the Falcons also I would not place in the elite tier at this present time. But we start things off. Your sports radio leading take of the weekend was what, Jarrett Bailey? If you're doing morning drive on a Monday morning, what are you leading with from the weekend that was in the NFL?
That the 49ers just look pretty mid right now. This is why it's very cautionary to crown a dude after 10 starts. And now he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit. We've seen what happens to this 49ers offense. Like, I think Deebo Samuel was kind of taken for granted as of late because of just how good Christian McCaffrey's been. Brandon Ayuk has had a really nice year. And I think Deebo Samuel kind of became the forgotten son of the offense. We're seeing that he's pretty important to the offense right now just because he would always get those like little underneath chunk plays. that would keep the chains moving. And his versatility was really important for the 49ers offense. And now that they don't have that right now, we're seeing that, it's Christian McCaffrey or bust for the most part. And Brock Purdy's not playing good football. He's made some really bad throws, and the turnover-worthy throws are starting to catch up with him, and it's hurting the 49ers right now. Amongst other things, like the defense hasn't been good either. They're getting eaten alive in man coverage, and we saw a nice example of that against the Bengals. Joe Burrow had a fantastic game. He had 4 incompletions and 3 touchdowns. So he was having his way with everything that the 49ers were throwing at him. He had a play where it just looked like he was spamming the stick on Madden, where he was just in the pocket, shoved Nick Bosa off of him, shook off Arik Armstead, got out, kept his head up, ate a hit from Fred Warner, and still completed a pass to a receiver in stride in pretty tight coverage. So it was vintage Joe Burrow, to quote Michael Cole. And the Bengals look like themselves again, which is, the second straight year that we've seen them start off really slow and had everybody up in arms like, oh my goodness, or the Bengals have a little bit of a hangover, and for different reasons, obviously. But here they are again, still in the thick of things, fighting their way back, and now they go into this week hosting Buffalo with a chance to be 5-3 and really just cementing themselves as like, hey, we're still here. You can't get rid of us that easy. Should have killed us when you had the chance.
Do you agree, JP?
So my leading take for the week was going to be the Bengals' death was greatly exaggerated. The team is still really good. At SB Nation, we did a little football court, I think October 5th, when the Bengals were 1-3, asking whether the Bengals should tank the season. And I was like, no, because this team is still really good, but they have to be smart with the Joe Burrow injury. If they can just get to the bye week at 500, then they're still going to make some noise because Joe Burrow will come back healthy. You're past the bye week and you just throttled the 49ers, and the Bengals offense looks like it once did. And it's not just, the play that Jarrett was talking about with Joe Burrow doing the crazy Joe Burrow things. It's the fact that they can get under center and do under center play action and get into more varied types of runs under center. You can't run as many run plays out of the shotgun, especially if you don't have like a legitimate Lamar Jackson type threat as a runner at quarterback. Joe Burrow isn't that. So limiting him because of his injury, you're exclusively a shotgun quarterback and a shotgun offense because he can't move and do play action. That completely cratered their offense. I think through the first 6 games of the season, Joe Burrow had 15 snaps under center total through the first 6 games of the season. Against 49ers, he had 14. So you can tell that offense is now starting to pick back up. You're starting to get back into what the Bengals want to do. And now you're starting to see what the Bengals actually were hoping to do going into the season. They signed Orlando Brown Jr. to get a little stronger in the run game up front. You started to see Orlando Brown Jr. being pulled on tackle dart plays, getting them up to the second level. And it's not just the crazy Joe Burrow make something happen when there's pressure. It's the timely scrambles where it's 3rd and 6 and he scrambles for 9, 3rd and 8 and he scrambles for 10. Patrick Mahomes is really good at this, where every time you think you got him, like it's cover 3 or cover 1 and they're running man coverage, he just goes and it's a first down. It's those timely scrambles that really set apart the best quarterbacks in the NFL now. Like you can't just be a statue anymore. So now that Joe Burrow can do that, that unlocks everything for this offense. And now everything's starting to come together. T. Higgins had a great day. Joe Mixon had a great day on the ground. So now the Bengals' death was greatly exaggerated. The defense was still really good. That defense is one of the best in the league in terms of if you have one game to scheme against an opponent, there's not many defenses you want outside of Cincinnati right now. So they're still going to be really good. I think the point that Jarrett made about Deebo Samuel, I think Deebo Samuel not being in the lineup hurts the 49ers a lot more than people thought it would because they have the Monstars. But what Deebo brings is easy offense when the run game doesn't work. The run game is not working right now, especially with Trent Williams out. Those RPOs and screens to Deebo Samuel, those are just runs. RPOs are just extensions of the run game. Screens are just extension of the run game. And now that they don't have that easy offense, that efficient offense of Deebo screens, Now you're relying a bit more on Brock Purdy. And while he made some pretty good throws on Sunday, there were the 2 interceptions. One of them was kind of The second one was really bad, where he didn't see Logan Wilson at all, and the play was just kind of mucked up from the beginning. But the Bengals defense was really, really good on Sunday. So that team is still going to be very good. Like I said, they're going into the Sunday night game against Buffalo. They're still one of the best teams in the AFC. Don't count them out, especially with the early season struggles. Once Joe Burrow is back fully 100%, they're going to be tough to beat.
I don't think that there's a more underrated unit in football than the Bengals defense, because they don't get all the love and the glamour that the offense does. But Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, Mike Hilton, who might be the best pure nickel cornerback in football, Logan Wilson, like Jermaine Pratt, DJ Reader. These are all just really, really good football players that they have on the defensive side of the ball. And with Lou Anarumo at defensive coordinator, like this is, I think JP kind of pointed out, like if you give me one game with a defense, like if I get to choose the defensive coordinator, it might be Cincinnati right now, just because they got a lot of unsung heroes on that team that play their ass off. And when it comes, like DJ Reader is one of the best run stoppers in football, one of the best interior defensive linemen in football. Logan Wilson's having a really good year, and then Hubbard and Hendrickson off the edge might be the most underrated edge duo in football. Like they got a lot of unsung heroes on that side of the ball that just consistently get the job done.
And what they did to the 49ers is they were able to consistently get into bare fronts, those 5-man fronts, without having to compensate pass coverage responsibilities. So what they would do, they come out with 4 linemen, but then they'd have Jermaine Pratt walk down to the line of scrimmage. So anytime George Kittle motioned, Jermaine Pratt would just walk down. Of course, they can get into the traditional 5-man fronts with 5 defensive linemen on the field. And that just completely shut down the outside zone game that the 49ers and the Shanahan schemes have really come to love, you know? And that's really the biggest way you can stop the Shanahan outside zone stuff is 5-man bare fronts and disciplined play. And they have really disciplined guys up front. And they really couldn't get into the gap scheme plays because not having Trent Williams matters. That is a +1 in any run game that you try and involve. They're really good. They're so talented. They're so defensively sound. Lou Anarumo, he had Brock Purdy seeing a lot of things that just he wasn't used to seeing. There was a play where it was almost a Logan Wilson interception early in the game where it looks like the Bengals are sending pressure. It's like they have like 6 guys up the line of scrimmage, and they drop into drop 8, cover 3. Brock Purdy doesn't see it, and he almost throws an interception to Logan Wilson. That was the entire game. That's what Lou Anarumo and this Bengals defense can do. They can just constrict and make things tighter on you because you just don't know what you're seeing every single play.
So what's more sustainable, the Bengals offense being back or the Bengals defense being one of the NFL's best over the next several weeks?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of seen it. The Bengals defense is good. Like they've been good. The only reason that they haven't put up the numbers is because they've been on the field so much because the offense was just cratering because Joe Burrow wasn't healthy. But now that Joe Burrow is healthy, you're going to start seeing those numbers start to go back up to where they were last year. It's not which one is better. It's they complement each other really well. So instead of really being like a super, like they're not a very high variance play defense where they get sacks and interceptions and turnovers. They are consistently, you're only going to get like 2 to 3 yards of play. They'll have a turnover, they'll have a sack here and there, but they're just not going to let you score. And then when you punt, you're wasting opportunities because you're giving the ball back to Joe Burrow in that offense, who will figure something out. Because what the offense does so well is they really do know how to get the ball into their best players' hands in whatever way possible. There were so many Jamar Chase screens that was basically like another extension of the run game. And Jamar Chase is an extremely difficult player to break tackle in one-on-one situations. It's a very underrated part of Jamar Chase's game. It's him after the catch being so damn strong. You know, he's basically he's built like a running back, but it's more complementary. So if I had to choose one being more sustainable, I guess it's the defense. But I think with the offense getting healthier, with Joe Burrow getting healthier, you're going to start seeing that offense return to being one of the best in football.
I like it. Before we get into the Jaguars-Steelers game and just some minutes of sadness for Jarrett Bailey here on this program.
Man. Once you embrace the darkness, once you become part of it, it can't hurt you anymore. Once
there you go. Well, I'm not there yet because my team is going to win the NFC South at like 7-10. Because no one wants to win the NFC South. Like, everyone is bad. The Bucs are bad. But what did I say on this podcast before the year? I did not see a path to the Falcons not winning the NFC South. They are making it as painful as humanly possible. As much as JP thinks that that dub for the Panthers yesterday was the start of something new and that a 7-game win streak is on the horizon, or the Saints getting a rare dub, or the Bucs who are on a current losing streak. Like, I don't know who he's pointing out here, but we'll save that for a second because right now the Atlanta Falcons are still in the driver's seat. They lose a terrible game on Sunday afternoon where I'm just losing my mind because here's the thing for me that got lost in the shuffle as someone who has watched every snap of the Atlanta Falcons this year and watched every snap of this game on Sunday afternoon. One of the things that's gotten lost in the shuffle here nationally is that the Falcons have one of the all-time worst special teams days I've ever seen, where the difference between Taylor Heineke and Taylor cooking in the second half versus what Desmond Ridder, who, again, was not good. I'm not a Desmond Ridder diehard defender. But Mike Hughes fair caught a ball inside the 10. He fair caught another ball at the 1. That was 2 consecutive Mike Hughes returns. Guess who was not returning punts after 2 fair catches inside the 10? That was Mike Hughes. He was out. Scotty Miller was in at that point. Key Smith, some dumb kickoff return calls. Like, when I talk about how bad the special teams was in the first half and where Desmond Ridder started, like, that was just an all-time, like, I can't believe what I'm watching as an NFL team. It's just some of these special team returns where this is basic stuff where you're just putting this offense in a hole over and over again. And also, DeAndre Hopkins, the most egregious offensive pass interference call I've ever seen not called in his
going.
It was unbelievable. Like, AJ Terrell, it's Halloween, folks, so I understand, like, it's spooky season, but DeAndre, you don't actually have to rip off AJ's head to make a touchdown. Like, you don't have to get that serious, but that's what happened when he actually scored. And the worst part was the announce team was like, I don't know. That what a great play, and they bring on Gene Steratore.
Yeah,
and he's like, no, I think that's pretty clear cut offensive pass interference. I would have called it. And they're like, really? You would call where AJ Terrell gets spun around by DeAndre Hopkins and he basically jumps out? Like, what are we doing? Like, yeah, that was obvious, but Will Levis threw some dimes in this game. Like, Will Levis deserves credit. He threw really well. Taji Sharp was a really good back. I like Taji Sharp. He's a good back for to back up Derrick Henry. But all that being said, an unacceptable loss, an inexcusable loss. It was terrible. Van Jefferson, I mean, no words. Running before the catch on a 4th down, but the game was really, I didn't think the Falcons were going to get it there. But I'm just sad because they're just in it every week. They're probably going to trade for like Montez Sweat tomorrow and like give up a 3rd rounder. And I mean, him and Calais Campbell and company, maybe that's still a pretty solid pass rush. The defense is still really good outside of the Richie Grant and Jesse Bates, who got cooked over and over again on deep bombs yesterday. But outside of that, like, I have no idea what to do because the season's very much not over. This team's going to host a playoff game, and it might be Taylor Heineke. It might be Desmond Ridder. I don't know, but I am not enjoying this right now. I am not well.
I hate to pour cold water on we're still going to host a playoff game because right now you're tied with the Saints for first place in the division.
Not worried about the Saints. Saints are a bad football team.
What do you think the Falcons are?
The Falcons, at least, I don't think they're bad. The Falcons are very close.
No, they're bad.
All right, man.
I don't think they're bad. They're a solid C+ right now. The Saints are a D+. Falcons are a C+. They're mid right now.
NFC version of the Steelers. They're not good.
I don't think that's true.
All right, man. Either way, November 26th and January 7th, the Falcons play the Saints both times. I think one of those is like the last game of the regular season.
We play the Saints last. Yeah, they're the last game of the regular season.
This is going to be the same thing, not same caliber of teams at all, but this is going to be the same thing as like the Jaguars and the Titans last year. this game's gonna end. The January 7th game is gonna end up on like Monday Night Football because like it's a winner take all game at that point.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to win this division. The special team stuff, like you said, for Atlanta was really weird. The main question I have is why isn't Cordero Patterson doing some of that stuff?
That's a good question.
Again, the personnel usage on this team is so fucking stupid. Mainly, why do you have Jonnu Smith?
I knew this is what you were going to say. I knew this was coming. I knew when you brought this
in the red zone with Kyle Pitts blocking.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like every time Arthur Smith does something, he is trying to outsmart everybody else at home. Like, oh, I'm so much smarter than you. That's why I have this job. No, just call the effective stuff. You have too much dip on your chip. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do the trick play inside the 8-yard line. It's not going to work, especially when you have tight end 2 throwing to tight end 3 or tight end 1 is blocking. Not only tight end 1, but the highest drafted tight end ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid. And I think the biggest thing for the Falcons is they don't have any answers for teams who can stop the run. The Titans, for as bad as they are, have a mean-ass defensive front. They can get after you in both facets of the run and passing game. Jeffrey Simmons had a career day because Jeffrey Simmons is really good. I mean, he was going up against Chris Lindstrom, who is good. He's really good, and just dusting him. You know, they gave up 5 sacks on the day. They don't have any answers for teams who can stop the run. Bijan Robinson, I think, had 65 yards on 11 carries. He also did not receive a target in the passing game. It's really bad. So I'm not going to say it's all on Desmond Ridder, but he definitely is not helping. He didn't look great before he got hurt and was taken out the game, but was also cleared, but didn't return to the game because Taylor Heineke had a hot hand apparently. And now they're being very non-committal about who's going to start next week. It's all just very weird. Again, I feel like Arthur Smith is trying to outsmart everyone, but when you don't really have to. But I mean, like you said, the biggest win for the the Falcons this week was you play in the NFC South. You're 4-4, and you're still going to get a chance to win the division because you don't play the Saints until like November 26th and January 7th. You got a lot of time here. And nobody else in the division is really going to be that uber competitive outside of the Saints. And even the Saints, like, they're very up and down. Like, the explosive performance we saw against the Colts came after Derek Carr was yelling at Chris Olave for not running full speed on a pass where he wasn't even in the progression. Derek Carr wasn't even supposed to look that way. And he yelling at everybody else. That's on you, big bro. But it's just the Falcons are weird. They're a weird team that, like, they should be better than what they are, but they're constantly trying to outsmart themselves.
Yeah. And like, watching the Titans drives back today, like, Will Levis had time. Like, you look at that first touchdown, just dime to DeAndre Hopkins. He had a clean pocket. He had time to throw. And when you give a guy like that time to throw, and he's got a piss missile on his shoulder, and he put it on display. Even when he didn't have time to throw, like, I think it was his last touchdown pass of the day when, like, he was rolling out right and stopping through it back across the field to nuke in the end zone. Like, that was a big boy throw from Will Levis. So I'll give him his flowers because I talked a lot of shit on Will Levis coming into the week. I shouldn't say talk a lot of shit. What did I compare him to? The meme of, like, the guy in the bar with the shades on his head, he's holding the beer, like, yelling in the girl's ear. That's Will Levis in the pocket. The girl is like the pass rush coming to him, and he's just completely oblivious. He played really well, and I think he's now one of only 3 players in NFL history to have 4 touchdown passes in their debut, with Marcus Mariota and Fran Tarkenton. So I mean, he did something really special against a defense that came into the week, top 10 in success rate and one of the best defenses in terms of EPA. So it was just a weird game where the Falcons defense just, I don't know, maybe they expected Will Levis to not be that great and kind of lulled themselves to sleep on him. I don't know, but he carved them up. And you talked about Jesse Bates and Richie Grant. I still think that that's a really good safety duo to have on the back end. It's just it wasn't their day. And kudos to Will Levis and the Titans offense for getting it done.
So I'm also going to sound like a hater here. If you actually look at Will Levis's completed passes, it looks a lot like the James Harden era Rockets.
Oh,
where it's either a 3-pointer from 40 feet out or a layup.
I think he had 7 completions of less than 0 area or 0 or less air yards and 8 of 20 yards downfield or something crazy like that.
It wasn't that great. If you just limit the explosive plays, he was fine. He did what we all knew he could do, which is he has incredibly strong arms and he can throw the ball very far. Outside of that, he wasn't asked to do much, but that might be enough for the Titans if you can actually get some explosiveness into the offense. I am interested to see where his development goes because you're not going to be able to that deep ball variance is not going to work not only year to year, but week over week. You're not going to be able to hit those throws every time, every week. So now you have to start working on getting the in-between game. So I'm not going to crown him yet. I want to see him get more consistent, and not be babied a little bit with the layups. The 3-pointers were cool, but now we want to start seeing the maturation, the in-between game.
I think the thing I worry about though with the in-between game is they don't have the horses to do that right now. Treylon Burks is a complete non-factor outside of DeAndre Hopkins and the deep ball game and the 50-50 balls. The pass game doesn't really have any reliable targets out.
I mean, they have talent. It's not like they're Treylon Burks, DeAndre, and the tight end who had a bad drop, but he still was open a lot.
He's
I think
good.
I think he's pretty good. He's solid.
He's good. It's just I just got to see it again. I hate to be the do it again guy, but you're not going to be able to hit those deep throws every week.
Yeah,
that variance is going to happen.
I just don't think that there's any defensive coordinator who's staring at a ceiling at night thinking, how do I stop Chig or how do I stop Treylon Burks? Now, having Tyjae Spears come alive as a really nice feature back in the offense to complement Derrick Henry has been really nice. And having that sort of guy who can be kind of a dual threat back who can make plays in the receiving game too, that's good to have. And we're starting to see them feature him more and more. But they need more horses to be able to build around to kind of give Will Levis more safety blankets, I guess. Because right now, like JP said, the 60-yard bomb to DeAndre Hopkins, you're not going to be able to do that every game. And they need more around him to help him develop.
What I will say about Levis and in this game, the explosiveness of the offense helped free up lanes for Derrick Henry, who had 22 carries for 101 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. That's pretty good. And if you can open up lanes for that guy a bit more often, maybe that'll help Will Levis out. So I just don't want the Titans to, and it's speaking as objective, NFL, viewer, not Jaguars fan. They should not fall into the cycle of purgatory. If they think they can sell off parts to start the rebuild, they should probably do that. I know there was a report that Derrick Henry was involved in trade talks, but there was one specifically where it almost went through. I think the rumors that I saw were that the Ravens were really close to trading for Derrick Henry, but the Titans owner kind of vetoed it. Yeah. Sure, man. If you think you can make that run in an AFC that is absolutely loaded, go for it. Keep Derrick Henry around, but I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. So
he also might want to stick around. We don't know.
I mean, it sounded like it was an executive veto from the owner. We want to keep this guy around because he is the face of the franchise. He's been the face of the franchise. So
I also don't think it's like the Ravens are a Derrick Henry away from winning a title.
Actually,
you put Derrick Henry in the Ravens.
You put Derrick Henry on the Ravens. That team is arguably the best team in the league.
But do you think so? Do you think they can't find a B+ version of Derrick Henry on the market and not give up as much? No,
you're not finding a B+.
Who's the alternative here? Who's the alternative Derrick Henry for the Ravens at running back on the trade market?
That's a trade for?
Yeah,
Saquon Barkley.
Oh.
You're not trading for Saquon. They're not going to trade for Saquon.
They should.
I like that. How many carries did he get yesterday?
I think 36.
Not enough.
That man got a high school running back workload, which was wild.
They should have let him. They should have let him play quarterback like Derrick Henry did at Yulee. Line him up at quarterback and see what happens. I think Saquon's price tag would be asking a lot.
Maybe.
Like, I think the Giants would ask a lot for Saquon because I think the Giants. It's kind of like the whole Jonathan Taylor thing where the Colts would ask for like multiple first rounders when you did not want to pay this guy like a first round pick.
Well, speaking of, is Jonathan Taylor available? Is that
no?
An option?
He just signed like a deal that makes him the highest paid running back in the league.
So you can't do it. Okay.
I think they were, and plus Derrick Henry on that team in that run game with the threat of Lamar Jackson as a runner.
Yeah,
like
it would be nasty.
Well, Evan's not here. How about the Niners trade CMC to the Ravens? They go ahead and sell off. The Seahawks have clearly won the division, and they're really. I mean, that was a big win for them with JSN to get the dub for the Seahawks. So if you're the Niners, I think now is when you sell parts. You start trading, whether that's Bosa, you trade Warner, Debo. You really need to get ahead of this long-term rebuild if you're San Francisco and accept your space in the NFC West.
They should trade for Trey Lance. That guy has a lot of potential.
Evan's like driving off the highway listening to this.
I wouldn't be surprised. By the way, we're talking about teams that trade deadline and what. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore traded for one of the Washington defensive linemen because there was murmurs about maybe Chase Young, maybe Montez Sweat, maybe John Allen. I think you put one of them on Baltimore's already really solid defensive line with Justin Madubuike, and we're seeing what obviously Roquan Smith's really good on the front seven. Like you add one of those guys. If I'm Baltimore, I'm big buyers at the deadline right now because you can get stronger. There's guys that would fit their MO on both sides of the ball. I would be very, very active if I'm Baltimore.
But then, like, what's the difference? Like, if you're Baltimore, do you look at every year with Lamar at this point with this group, I think they're talented enough, but y'all can speak more to this, is that, like, with the Bengals coming on, Chiefs, weird loss yesterday to the Broncos, but still going to be right there in the thick of things. The Bills playing good football. They went on Thursday. Dolphins still playing really well. I don't know. Do they? Does this Ravens team feel like they can get to the top of the AFC still this year? Are they a defensive lineman away?
I feel like they already are at or near the top of the AFC. I mean, we can talk about the Bengals being back as much as we want. The Ravens and Mike Macdonald play the Bengals the best defensively. That has been like Joe Burrow has not been as effective against Mike Macdonald's Baltimore Ravens as any other defense.
Why is that?
In the NFL? I think it's because Mike Macdonald shows them so many different looks. It's forcing him to work after the snap, and they have a lot of athleticism, and you can't just big body those guys on the outside. No, you can't do that. So it forces them to work after the snap. Their defensive line is really good, especially up front against the run. Justin Madubuike is a rising star, and Travis Jones plays really well against the run. I think they're at the top or among the top in sacks, and you cannot name who leads that team in sacks. It's probably Jadeveon Clowney, which, hey, you're getting great play out of Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy, who was just signed last week. So this defense is really good. The Ravens are at the top, if not the top team in the AFC. They're going to be there. They have the talent on defense and the coaching on defense, and Lamar Jackson's playing like the NFL MVP. So
there you go.
Also, their defense, just to add more context to the defense, second in the league in EPA per play, second in the league in EPA per dropback. So that defense is nasty. I know that there was kind of like maybe a few questions about their defense coming in, especially like the secondary and staying healthy and whatnot. I was asking those questions, but Mike Macdonald in that unit has definitely stepped to the plate.
And even the secondary, like the guys that we had questions about, they're playing really well. Arthur Mollett playing the best football of his career. Geno Stone, who's like playing for Marcus Williams.
Leading the NFL in interceptions right now, Geno Stone is, by the way.
It's insane. Kyle Hamilton's playing like a Pro Bowler this year. You're getting great play out of Marlon Humphrey when he's in. They're just really good from top to bottom.
Well, someone who's not good, top to bottom, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jarrett Bailey. So, what happened in the Steelers-Jaguars game on Sunday afternoon? Why were the Jaguars able to put the Pittsburgh Steelers in the locker on Sunday afternoon?
First of all, I totally forgot, like up there, like behind me, like the Steelers helmet right here, Jaguars helmet right there. I didn't even plan that.
And you also got the Oilers look for this week, so you
I do. I've got the Seahawks one right here too. Yeah, all throwbacks.
It's a good week for that.
It's a throwback party. No, it's the same thing that happens every week with the Steelers. The offense starts off horribly. The defense does their best to keep them in the game, and it's not enough. Some weeks it is, and the offense is kept close enough where they can get a drive in the fourth quarter that puts up points and puts them in the lead, and the defense does just enough to give them the win. This week it wasn't enough. Their first 4 drives, they went 3 and out all 4 drives. The Steelers had 3 takeaways on the day. The offense did nothing with those takeaways. They got a field goal off of 3 turnovers. It's the same thing every week, man. The first play from scrimmage, the Steelers, Kenny Pickett throws down the seam to Deontay Johnson, who would have had minimum a big gain to get him to like midfield to the 45-yard line-ish. Best case scenario, he outruns the Jaguars 2 defensive backs down the seam and gets an opening play touchdown. That's cool, except he dropped it. And then on third down, Kenny Pickett goes back to Deontay Johnson, who is in good enough position to make the catch. Would have been a first down, and he drops it. And I think that was just kind of an omen of what was going to come for the Steelers. Pickett gets hurt late in the first half. That obviously doesn't help because Mitch Trubisky, more than anybody in the league, telegraphs where he's going to go with the ball and stares holes through. Like, he threw an interception midway through the fourth quarter that pretty much sealed the deal. The Steelers were down a touchdown, and I think they ran play action. And I believe it was Allen Robinson going on an in-breaker down the middle of the field. Trubisky just stares at him for like 3 seconds, unleashes, and the backside safety comes across and picks it off, which there should be more questions about why the backside safety is so available at that time, but that's Matt Canada scheming questions. And then the Jaguars kick a field goal. It's 20-10. That's game. It's the same thing every week with the Steelers at this point, where they put themselves in holes early. They can't get going fast, and the offense isn't good enough, both personnel-wise and schematically, to catch up to teams. So if you can get a 10-point lead on the Steelers, then you're probably going to win if you don't do anything fluky or shoot yourself in the foot like the Ravens did a few weeks ago, where, fluky things happen. A block punt happens. That's a safety. Lamar throws a really bad interception in the end zone, shooting yourselves in the foot, and eventually the Steelers finally cashed in. They couldn't do that this week. They didn't have Pickett, who, I'm not, by no means am I defending Kenny Pickett to the end of the earth, but he's better than Mitch Trubisky in a lot of ways, and he protects the ball a lot better than Mitch Trubisky. So if Pickett doesn't get hurt, I don't think they win, but I think they have a little bit of a better chance to do it. The defense did all they could. They had 3 takeaways. Jacksonville had their moments, obviously. Like Etienne had the long touchdown pass where Damontae Casey came up on the cover 2 and just completely left the backside wide open with no help. Joey Porter Jr. came out today and said that was his fault, that he should have dropped back since Casey came up. So there's miscommunications defensively that still happen for this defense. It's same thing every week. It's the same book every week. I don't know why I've been cursed with writing the exact same thing every week, but here I am talking about the same mistakes over and over again for the Steelers. And now they play the Tennessee Titans on Thursday night. If they win, they're 5-3. And then after that, they got Green Bay on a mini bye week at home as well. So,
are they a playoff team? Is this schedule going to put them? I would say that knowing that the Falcons have the easiest schedule in football and proceed to just completely throw it all away week over week. So, does it make you feel better that they have this kind of schedule, or do you think this is still trending the wrong way?
I don't want them to win games, Chase. I want them to suck.
Well, I don't know. That's not going to happen with Tomlin and company, though. That they're not going to suck.
That's the biggest problem with this team, man, is that for the last 5 years, they've patted themselves on the back for being mediocre, getting 9 wins, extending a meaningless streak that doesn't mean shit. And when they do get to the playoffs, they get boat raced by actual teams that are good. So are they going to be a playoff team? It wouldn't surprise me, because if they win the next 2 games, they're 6-3. And as long as they go 500 the rest of the way, they'll probably be the 6th.
Aren't the Vikings in the playoffs if the playoffs started today?
Yes.
It's just...
The NFC is weird, though.
I also think maybe we're workshopping this. Is maybe the Mike Tomlin era Steelers are like just 2 years behind the Belichick era Patriots right now. Like we're just going to keep saying they're going to stay mid for forever, and then the bottom's just going to fall out in a year or two, and they're just actually going to be one of the worst teams in football.
The best thing that could happen to the Steelers is going like 7-10 this year, getting rid of that streak that only Mike Tomlin diehard defenders care about. And maybe that'll make themselves stare themselves in the mirror and say, okay, what are we doing here? Because obviously Kenny Pickett isn't it at quarterback. By the way, there was a play. They were down 6-0. Steelers had the ball in the red zone. Matt Canada designed a really good play.
Deontay Johnson was wide ass open.
Connor Hayward runs the rub to perfection. Deontay Johnson comes out of his break wide open, takes 5 steps, still open. Kenny Pickett still looking to the right. Looks to his left. Deontay Johnson's still wide open. Throws it behind him. Steelers settle for a field goal. It's just the same thing over and it's the Roman Reigns promo. It's like missionary position over and over and over. It's the same thing, man. He's not getting better. And it'll happen every day, by the way, where people come into my Twitter mentions and say, oh, it's Matt Canada's fault. He doesn't have time behind the offensive line. Well, he had a throw to George Pickens where he had plenty of time, and he just noodle-armed it. If he throws it like not to the outside and downfield, George Pickens has grass in front of him and he's walking into the end zone. But nope, I think it was Darius Williams. I was in coverage on him, throws it right into his helmet. It gets deflected. Steelers punt. He's not getting better. And look, Matt Canada's not good. The offensive line's not good. Neither is Kenny Pickett. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive to each other. Those 3 big problems for the Steelers and why the offense stinks. The offensive coordinator isn't good. The offensive line still has a lot of problems, especially with Mason Cole at center because he stinks. And Kenny Pickett's not getting any better. There's been no signs of progression of him. Will Levis threw 4 touchdowns in his first career start. That is 2 more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett has ever had in a game. That's pathetic. And I'm just very over all these Pitt fans who are also Steelers fans defending Kenny Pickett to the end of the earth and crying, oh, woe is me about Kenny Pickett. No, he stinks. So does everything else, but so does he.
So about this game, couple of things. I know I'm going to sound like a homer here, but that game was not as close as that final score.
Absolutely.
The Jaguars walked up and down the field. Yeah. Like it took a really wacky Trevor Lawrence interception in the end zone, a fumble that was not a fumble, and another fumble, and that's why the score was 20-10. It should have been at least like 35. This team was dunking on the Steelers up and down the field. Second thing, the biggest reason why the Jaguars won this game and the Steelers were not competitive, there are levels to this. Like the Kenny Pickett throw that Jarrett just talked about, where he noodle arms it, and Darius Williams is able to break it up. Same type of play happens with Trevor Lawrence as quarterback. Slot fade. Trevor Lawrence gets hit as he throws. It ends up being a 25-yard completion to Christian Kirk. There are levels. And until the Steelers can get to that level, until their quarterback can get to that level, they just are going to – this is the glass ceiling for the Steelers. This is going to be the limit for them. They can't get past the really good teams because they don't have the offense or the quarterback necessary to try and make it past those points. Because, again, Jaguars walked up and down the field. It was not like – this was not a great Steelers defensive game. Like, the Jaguars were really good offensively. And they did the normal Jaguars thing, which is they get to the red zone, forget how to play football, but you're playing the Steelers. That's the thing. The Steelers are only good when you turn the ball over in your territory. It's not just turning the ball over. You have to turn the ball over on your side of the field and give them short fields to work with.
And Tomlin talks about that too in his presser. Like he said, yeah, the turnovers were appreciated, but we were in negative territory and all 3 of them couldn't do anything offensively. Now they got the field goal at the end of the half with one of the turnovers, but like, yeah, they could not do anything.
The Jaguars are that caliber of team where you have to beat them. You cannot. They're going to beat themselves already. They tried to do that. They tried to beat themselves, but the Steelers were not helping at all. You know, it's again, this Jaguars offense still has not figured it out yet, and was still insanely efficient. against this Steelers defense. The run
How
game
many
was
catches
working.
did Evan Ingram have? I think Evan Ingram had like 8 catches.
And Evan Ingram didn't even play that good for most of the game. There were a lot of drops early in the game because of the rain. It was just a really weird, it felt like a really weird early rain game. Evan Ingram finished with 10 catches for 88 yards. Calvin Ridley had 6 catches for 83 yards. Travis Etienne had 3 catches for 70 yards. And that's not even counting Christian Kirk, who had 4 for 46. Everybody is involved. And this is without Zay Jones and Walker Little, who didn't play in this game. The Jaguars are legitimately very, very good. And that defense is very, very good. They make it so hard on you. And for a team that, hadn't had a lot of pass rush this year, the Jaguars pass rush got after it on Sunday. Trayvon Walker had a great game. Josh Allen, once again, I think he's at or near the league lead in sacks. I think he has 9 sacks on the year, which is among the tops in the league. And they're again rumored in the market for one of those pass rushers, whether it be a Josh Uche from the Patriots. I know they were linked to Danielle Hunter before the season. I don't know if they're still going to be linked to Danielle Hunter. But
I think the Falcons are down to Danielle or Sweat. I saw they're trading for one of the two, and it's gonna be maybe it's Hunter. I would actually prefer Hunter than Sweat.
The Danielle Hunter thing is really interesting because now with Kirk Cousins gone for the year, do the Vikings kind of throw in the towel and say yeah, this is it? We're gonna start the rebuild.
When can Jefferson come back?
I think he went on 4-week IR before the 49ers game.
Even then, though, it doesn't matter when Jaron Hall is out there throwing passes.
Did you see the Jameis Winston rumor for him? For them?
Lord, JP.
I don't hate Jameis as a flyer for the Viking season.
I said that on the SB Nation podcast today. I'm like, if you want to be competitive and see hey, maybe we can make the playoffs with this, why not go sign Jameis Winston? At least it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It might not be great all the time.
It'll be crazy fun.
It might not be great all the time, but it'll be fun. And we haven't seen Jameis Winston in a Shanahan-McVay style offense. So,
with Tyson taking over the Bears job, trade for Justin Fields and interdivision trade. Bring Justin Fields to Minnesota.
Don't ever try and sell me on Tyson Bagent again. Don't let that come out your mouth again. But the Jaguars are really good, and this game was just. There are levels to this. The Steelers are in that middle class of the AFC. And until they get a real quarterback and a real offense, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be the purgatory. They're going to be.
The AFC is a bloodbath come playoff time. We're looking at Jags, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, Patriots, Dolphins, Bills. That is a murderer's row of
and that's not even counting
teams. That's
not even counting the Chargers, who are 3-4, but have one of the best quarterbacks.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Are we throwing the Chargers in with that group, JP? As someone who watched his team come back from multiple scores down in one of the all-time great comebacks, are we throwing the Chargers in there for the playoffs in this conversation? Are we doing that?
As long as Justin Herbert is healthy.
Yeah.
You talk about Brandon Staley on this. Thank you for not coaching segment each and every week. Are we still throwing the Chargers in here?
I said the same thing last year, and they made the playoffs.
That's true.
This.
Are the Broncos making the playoffs?
Don't start with me.
No.
The Chargers are still going to be in that playoff discussion.
By the way, Houston's frisky.
Houston's frisky.
Bad loss yesterday, though.
As long as the Jets keep winning games,
the Jets will hang around.
Look, I don't know how they're doing it. But
we know that they should not have won yesterday, right? There's no question they should not have gotten that snap off, right? That's ridiculous.
I don't know how they continue to do it.
Yeah.
But they continue to do it.
Yeah.
If we look at, I'm going to look up their schedule now. I don't know, man. Right now, they're 4-3, and they've played arguably the hardest part of that schedule.
They got the Chargers on Monday Night Football next week.
Yeah, the Chargers Monday Night Football, and that's the Chargers, so anything can happen. And then you have the Raiders, the Bills, the Dolphins, Falcons, Texans, Dolphins, Commanders, Browns, Patriots. It's not a super tough schedule.
No.
And I know this is never going to happen. It's not going to happen. I keep telling myself it's not going to happen. But if Aaron Rodgers, shaman voodoo doctor, actually gave him the ability to come back late in this season, even if he doesn't, like that team is going to be frisky. Like it's a bloodbath of teams. So, unless the Steelers like have a legit option at quarterback, they are going to remain in that second class of teams who are going to be in the hunt, but not good enough. You're always going to be there.
Jarrett, who you got? Eagles or Cowboys after their showings this week? Who do you lean toward as the more impressive team at this present time on October 31st when we're recording this? Happy Halloween.
Thanks. I'd still say Philadelphia just because I need Dallas to prove to me that they're more than just a team that can get into the playoffs and then get eliminated in the divisional round. Like I've seen Philadelphia get there, and right now, like Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are just on a different level. Where if you throw the ball up near AJ Brown, he's coming down with it. Like the catch that he had in the end zone on Sunday was gross, and he might be the best receiver in football right now, pound for pound. Like he's on another level with his play. The offense got going, like Hurts on a bum knee through 4 touchdowns. They found a way to still somehow get the ground game relatively. How do I want to say this? I'm worried about him when it comes to the run game, just because we saw him hobble on multiple scrambles against Washington. But as long as they're able to have a balanced attack where the passing game is keeping them honest, and they're going to see light fronts because of it, then they're still going to be able to run the ball effectively. Defensively, they just added Kevin Byard to a back end that's really good. The front seven's really good. Like we know what the Eagles are. They are just as good roster-wise as just about any team in the league. San Francisco is probably the only team with a better 1-53 in football when completely healthy. But the Eagles got the quarterback, and right now that quarterback is playing otherworldly. He just threw 4 touchdowns, no picks. AJ Brown's really good. Devontae Smith is maybe the best number 2 in football outside of Jalen Waddle. I know that's kind of like a debate that's had a lot, but he's really good. Dallas Goedert, one of the best tight ends, best offensive line. Like I think that right now they're still pretty comfortably better than Dallas.
Jimmy, can I say this with Dallas real quick?
Go ahead.
So here's the weird part about this: is the Eagles, when they look rough, like they still like find a way. They're just more gritty. Like they're a grittier team. I trust them to win grittier games. Dallas cannot win a gritty game to save their life, because if you look at their games, Dallas is all or nothing. They're either going to kick the ever-living crap out of you, or they are going to lose to the Cardinals on the road. They beat the Giants 40-0. They beat the Jets 30-10. They beat the Pats 38-3. They get crushed by the Niners 42-10. And then they crush the Rams 43-20. Like, there's no middle ground with this Cowboys team. So I'm like, the best version of the Cowboys is still the best team in the NFC. Like, when they are on, they are going to obliterate you. And when they are really just not up for it on Sunday afternoon, they are awful. There's no middle ground for the Cowboys, it seems like.
So the problem there is all those teams that you said they blew out.
Yeah.
They're not that great.
Right.
The Cowboys beat up on bad teams.
Yeah.
Cool. But once they actually play teams that are at or above that level, you see the glass ceiling again. Like, I'm not going to say it's a must-win game because it's like week 9.
Yeah.
But this game has the feel of a must-win for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's not just like a must-win. You can't get blown out again.
Yeah.
You can't lose by 32 points again. You have to show like some proof of concept here. And I agree with Jarrett in saying the Eagles are still the better team because they just have answers for everything. The Commanders are a really weird, tough matchup for the Eagles because they drafted 5 first-round picks at defensive line, and they are just as good up front. But sending Emmanuel Forbes out there one-on-one against A.J. Brown is malpractice in coaching. Yeah. You can't do that again. I love Emmanuel Forbes, love his instincts. The man is 160 pounds going against Optimus Prime at wide receiver. You can't do that to him. You have to send help. And if you're not sending help, switch. You got to get him off him. It was at one point, it felt like when Shaq was in the low post and you had him switched onto like a guard, you need to send help. Either send help or Shaq is going to dunk on you. And that's what A.J. Brown did the entire game. They just like you said, Chase, they just find ways to win. It's not just gritty. They know how to do that. And my biggest thing with the Cowboys, as good as they are defending the pass, they still have a lot of issues against the run, in the run game. If the Eagles don't have to throw the ball to win. They can just inside zone you to hell, and they will win games. But if the Cowboys decide to load up against the run, Trevon Diggs ain't out there anymore. So who's going to guard A.J. Brown? Who's going to guard Devontae Smith? Will we see a lot more Stephon Gilmore and A.J. Brown? Or will they go the Bill Belichick route where you put Gilmore on wide receiver 2 and double A.J. Brown? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think Dallas offensively, they beat up on bad teams. The Rams, we talked a lot of nice things about the Rams. They are starting the 3 of us at DB. Like, that's not a good room. And CeeDee Lamb took advantage of that. You're not going to see that against the Eagles because, again, my problem with the Cowboys offense is it constricts itself. It's so stagnant and it's so tight to where they weren't scheming CeeDee Lamb open until like a couple weeks ago. Mike McCarthy just figured out you can put CeeDee Lamb in the slot. But now, what are you going to do if Bradbury or Slay follows him? Do you have a consistent second option? Michael Gallup isn't going to be that. I don't know if Brandon Cooks is going to be that. You have to find ways to beat this team. And the offensive line still isn't healthy. Like, that's going to be a problem going against the Monstars that the Eagles have up front. So I'm really excited to watch this game, but I do think there are levels in the NFC, and I don't think the Cowboys are on that level yet.
I will say this about Dak, though, in the game that he had against the Rams. He made a lot of awesome throws. The throw down the seam to Ferguson for the first touchdown was a beaut. He made a couple really nice throws to CeeDee Lamb, one on like the left sideline. The touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks, like over the shoulder, right in the bucket, was really nice. Like, Dak made a lot of really awesome throws. There's a reason they scored 43 points. But can you do it against the Eagles? And can you make the smart decisions? And can you protect the football against a really good Eagles defense? Because even if, like JP said, they don't need to throw the ball to beat you. Like, late in the game against the Dolphins, they just ran it down their throats. And then eventually they ran play action and hit A.J. Brown down the field, and that was wraps. So, like, if you can't stop the run, and if you can't force them to do things that they don't want to do, then you're just playing into their hand. So if Dak can protect the ball, and if the Cowboys defense can at least contain what A.J. Brown has been doing and make him go to, secondary options in the offense, then they'll have a chance. But I think that Philadelphia is still very much head and shoulders the better team right now.
Leonard Williams traded to the Seahawks today. Big-ish move. Seahawks now in sole possession of first place in the NFC West. JP, when you look at Williams and his fit there, and then where they're sitting, they won a game they had no business winning on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns, who really just that's a rough way to lose if you're the Browns on the road there. But we haven't talked about that. We talked about the Eagles, we talked about the Cowboys, talked about the Niners. But are the Seahawks just sitting there? Do you see a path, JP, to the Seahawks beefing up at the trade deadline here, and with their healthy crop of talent on both sides, could they actually win the NFC? Are they building a real contender here?
So I regret to inform you that the leaders of the NFC West right now are the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the team is good. Like, they have the offense to.
They're awesome.
They can win the shootout games. I think they did win the shootout games. They beat the Lions like 30.
The Lions in overtime, yeah.
Like, they can win the shootout games. They can win the grinded out games. But adding Leonard Williams is such a huge piece. And I love this trade for them because you get another interior presence. Jermont Jones has been pretty good. And Jaron Reed has tried his best to be the gap shooting one tech. But now Leonard Williams can do that. You have some more positional versatility. You can now have more guys to get after the passer. And as good as I think Seattle's defensive secondary has been, they're quietly very good this year. They talk a lot of shit, and it's awesome. Devin Witherspoon in the nickel has been amazing. Jamal Adams has been really good in his time back. Reek Woolen got his first interception of the year. They play so well back there. Now you just need to get more pressure up front, and that's what Leonard Williams is going to bring. He's going to bring pressure. He's going to bring another solid interior presence. I know the second and the fifth, like people are going to like gawk at that because you have to sign Leonard Williams after this year, but who were you going to pick with that second round draft pick who's going to be as good as Leonard Williams, especially in a defensive tackle class coming up? There's not a lot of guys who are going to be that level of talent. Like there's Jerzon Newton from Illinois, Leonard Taylor from Miami, and maybe Mason Smith from LSU. And even Mason Smith is a large if because of the injuries. So this is worth it for the Seahawks, especially because the goal is to win the Super Bowl right now. It is to win the Super Bowl this year. And I think with this trade, they can make a lot of noise in the NFC. They're winning the NFC West right now. And again, the 49ers still have to go through a really tough schedule.
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of tough games left, and they're going to be
also,
doing
speaking of the tough games, can I give y'all the last 6 for the Cowboys? Like this is fired Cowboys watch here, folks. Last 6 for them. Seahawks at home, Eagles at home, at Buffalo, at Miami, Lions at home, at Washington.
God, Lord.
That is a rough last 6 weeks. You're betting on those guys resting some starters down the stretch here. You need some help if you're the Cowboys. That's a rough end to their season.
Yeah, and even for the 49ers, you lose the first 2, Minnesota and Cincinnati. You get the bye week. You got Jacksonville, Tampa, Seattle, Philly, Seattle, Arizona, Baltimore, Washington, LA. Good luck, man. You're going to have to play that team twice. And I think Seattle is in a perfect position. And adding Leonard Williams kind of lets you know that they think this is like they can make this run now. Because that's the type of guy that you go get to make the run now.
Yeah, and like JP said, pointing out everybody else that they already had. Now you have Leonard Williams with Draymond Jones, Boye Mafe, Jarrett Reed. Like this is a really good front four for the Seahawks. And the defensive backfield is already really good. And offensively, like Jackson Smith and Jigba's coming on. He just had another touchdown. That one to win the game late against Cleveland. Obviously, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker. The offensive line is still pretty solid. Like Seattle is as well-rounded as you could want to be. Now Geno has his limits, but he's a high-end limited quarterback. Like he's kind of in that third tier of guys where he's going to throw a beautiful deep ball. He still has that. Is he as good as the elite quarterbacks in the NFL? No, but you can do a hell of a lot worse than what Geno Smith has shown over the last calendar year. So if there was like a fun team to like surprise everybody and come out of the NFC, I think it's either going to be Detroit or it's going to be Seattle. And I would be very happy with either of those.
And even with the offensive line playing like they're getting better, they just got Charles Cross back.
Yeah.
And Abraham Lucas still has a return from the knee injury. So they're missing their starting right tackle and just got back their starting left tackle. This team is still like they have not played to their full potential yet because the defense was still trying to round in the form. Now you add Leonard Williams, who's going to help solidify up front. It's a good team. That's capital G good.
I'm excited to see how the NFC unfolds because I think the Lions and the Seahawks are going to be very interesting to see if one of those two can break through over the Eagles. Niners.
That's a dream NFC Championship game right there too, by the way. Like if you get the NFC Championship game hosted by the Lions against the Seahawks, I mean, those are two teams that everybody's on board with. You know what? Those are like the darling teams that everybody feels good about and would be totally fine making it out of the NFC. New blood, some parity in the league. I think that would be awesome.
That's wild. I mean, it's in play, folks. Jarrett.
Yeah.
Buy or sell. On Thursday, one of the things it feels like forever ago, the Bills were playing with a lot more tempo. Do you think that's something that they should do a lot more going forward? Do you think they found something? And why do you think it helps for Buffalo and Josh Allen especially to play with more tempo?
Yeah, like we've seen it in the past, like with Dable before he left for New York. Like when they just played in a rhythm, they were hard to stop. And when Josh Allen got in a rhythm, he was hard to stop. And when you keep that going and you get into a little bit of a tempo, you see what happens. You get plays from Gabe Davis, who had a monster game on Thursday. By the way, Gabe Davis has 2 modes. He either is Jerry Rice or a Subway sandwich artist. There is no in between for Gabe Davis.
Football J.R. Smith.
That's a very good comp. Very good
like
comp for Gabe Davis. I think Josh Allen is the football Luka Doncic, where he is. How do I want to describe Josh? He's just really streaky. Like when Josh is on, he's as good as any quarterback in the league. But when he plays like dumb Josh Allen, you're banging your head against a wall, asking, "Why did you do that?" But we saw good Josh Allen. We saw mobile Josh Allen against Tampa Bay, and we're seeing. Bills fans are really clamoring, like, let Josh be Josh. Like when it comes to being this behemoth that he is, let him run the ball a little bit more. Like, yeah, it puts him in a little bit more of harm's way, but it hasn't come back to bite him yet, which is pretty good.
And I think that helps, right? If he's playing tempo and he has less time to think and get in his own head and just ride those hot streaks, I think that's the scariest version of Buffalo, right?
And we saw it I think there was a third down play, like a 3rd and 6 early in the game. He scrambled for 8. The first touchdown run, where it was, I think they were on like Tampa Bay's like 15 or 16 yard line, and he just, all right, didn't say anything. I'll take off. I'll hit him with a pump fake 9 yards past the line of scrimmage that they'll still bite on, and then I'll stare down Jamel Dean as I run into the end zone. Like, we know what a physical freak and gifted athlete Josh Allen is, and I think that he was somewhat limited because they weren't letting him unleash that running ability that he has, or at least trying to limit it. I get it. You want your quarterback to be healthy, and you don't want to put him in harm's way. You don't want him to end up like Cam Newton, who just gets destroyed on the back end of his career and isn't the same. But this is a guy who is, when he is on, maybe the best dual threat quarterback in the league. And when you let him play like that and let them get into a constant tempo of things, then it's gonna open up opportunities, not just for Diggs, but Kincaid, who's come on in the last couple of weeks and had his first career touchdown. We've seen James Cook become more part of the offense. Hardy's becoming more of a part of the offense. Khalil Shakir, it's not just Stephon Diggs or bust when they're on, but games against New England where it's just a pointless, no proof of concept offense. And it's okay, if we don't get the ball to 14, then we're not going to win. You see what the results are. By the way, I talked about Dalton Kincaid already. There's zero reason to make him lose targets to Dawson Knox anymore. These last 2 weeks, I don't know why they haven't been feeding him. They took him in the first round. They're starting to finally give him the football, and it's paying off. So we talk about teams starting to find their stride and find themselves a little bit, and I think Buffalo is starting to do that. They tried their hardest to let Tampa Bay come back, but the offense is starting to look really good.
So my thing with the Bills offense is it looked good on Thursday, but you can still do all the same stuff that they did on Thursday with Dawson Knox in the game. It's not like you have to completely change your offense when you go into 12 personnel. You can still put Dalton Kincaid in the slot if you want to. That's what he did all Thursday night. He was just a big slot receiver. You can still do that with Dawson Knox in the game. That's not something that's just mutually exclusive to 11 personnel super spread offense. You can still play Khalil Shakir if you want to. You don't have to play Gabe Davis. Nothing is stopping you from not playing Gabe Davis. So I just want to see them continue to try and get that use of 12 personnel, because as good as Dalton Kincaid is as a receiver, can't block. He tries, but he can't. And that's going to silo them off. You're going to end up like the Bengals before the Bengals figured out you can get under center and do play action stuff. They're still looking for a tight end. So you can get into 12 personnel if you want to, but it's just about meshing that stuff together. It feels sometimes like the Bills' offense is siloed between super spread, tempo, and slow it down kind of grinded out games. And you don't have to do that. You can still play the tempo stuff out of 12 personnel if you want to. You can play the grinded out at 11 personnel if you want to. But it's just, I just wonder, again, I wonder how the offense is going to fare when you get later on into the season and they still can't really run the ball that well. And I wonder how long it's going to take until they go break the emergency Josh Allen run game glass. And they've been holding off for a long time. Josh Allen had a few plays where he ran like design QB runs for Josh Allen on Thursday. But I wonder how long can they hold off on that? Because normally in most like big games that they play, Josh Allen's going to be getting some design QB runs. So I just wonder how long they're going to hold off on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to hate this, JP, but I wonder if, I don't know if you watched Joe Milton the last 2 weeks, but I feel like they kept this in the chamber for Tennessee, where he is now running, and there are so many design runs for Tennessee, and it's opened up the playbook so much that maybe his body couldn't handle it for a full 12 games, and they were like, we got to get to the middle of the road, and then when the season starts to get a little dicey, and we get the meat of the SEC schedule, that's when you're gonna have to start putting your body on the line. I think that might be part of it with a lot of these coaches. I think they wish they could do that week out for guys like Josh Allen.
Yeah, I wonder how that offense is going to continue to develop, and I also wonder how good that defense is going to be still without Matt Milano. And
he's gone for the year, right?
Yeah, he's done for the year. I think he broke his leg or something. You're without Matt Milano, you're without Tre'Davious White. Von Miller is still like on a pitch count, which again, he's like 33 years old. That's what you expect. But I think some of the cool things that they did was they moved Jordan Poyer down to be kind of like a pseudo linebacker in their 3 safety looks, because you have to. You need that kind of stability in that second level of the field. Teron Johnson is awesome. He's just an awesome player. I just wonder how long that lack of depth is going to, like, they're kind of tying it up with Band-Aids. And how long is that until that dam's going to break, when that lack of depth really shows?
Yeah. Jarrett, what can the good folks check out from you across the internet this week?
Power rankings on USA Today. Those should be up by the time you're listening to this as a podcast. 1 to 32, my little nuggets. I compared the Las Vegas Raiders to Sanjaya Malakar from the 2006 season of American Idol.
Okay, very specific.
So there's a little nugget for you on what to find in the power rankings. Steelers stuff from behind the steel curtain every day. And then I'll have a few features coming in the coming weeks. I can't say who on air, but I'll tell you guys in the lobby when we're done. So those are coming for USA Today as well. Pump Fake as well. 2 to 3 episodes a week. I'm doing a Q&A episode now as well, because Threads, people on Threads ask me questions. So I just started doing a Q&A episode every Wednesday for the Pump Fake. Just did an episode with Ben Albright talking about the trade deadline, rumors, stuff of that nature. So you can go watch that on YouTube right now. And then, we'll do one Tuesdays, Fridays, and then the Q&A show on Wednesday.
There you go. JP, what about you over on sbnation.com?
So we continue to establish fun every Friday. Establish Fun, my column that I write about things that I find fun in football, whether it be at the NFL level or the college level. I kind of feel
you're out here hitting UNLV up, so you're having all kinds of fun. When you're diving into the Barry Odom UNLV running Rebs, he's gouging the country for content.
Go offense, baby.
They're not go bowling.
They're gonna go bowling. It's gonna be fun. Outside of that, we're gonna be doing some NFL trade deadline stuff at SB Nation. I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on the opening college football playoff rankings and have some initial takeaways the next day. The normal surrounding the big things that are going on in college football. But Establish Fun every Friday, and then Monday Football Monday, the podcast I'm on at SB Nation. Me, co-writer Mark Schofield, RJ Ochoa, and Rochelle Prevet, breaking down everything that happens on Monday mornings. Sometimes I host, which I did today, which was really fun, and sometimes I don't, but I'll be there every Monday, so just check it out.
There you go. JP, Jarrett, thank you as always, and I'll talk to y'all next week.